here's the other component. If it loads. Sinclair canceled its tribute to Charlie Kirk after ABC stations got terroristic threats. Local threats directed at specific local ABC stations resulting from the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel. So let's wrap it all up. Right now, Sinclair is saying they will not bring back Jimmy Kimmel. However, they did take down Charlie Kirk's memorial due to terroristic threats. A shooter threatened to kill them. And presumably there are way more threats than this. And they're bringing Jimmy Kimmel back to do exactly what they told him not to do. I'm going to go ahead and say we don't know any reason why ABC would bring him back. We don't have any official reporting as to what the reason is that he negotiated. I can only then infer the terror attack and threats of terrorism against ABC stations forced Disney to cave and return Jimmy Kimmel to the airwaves. But that is just my personal opinion, pending any other information.
I hate that there's Streisand affecting him now, and he's going to play the victim, and it's gross. Because in my opinion, no one's watching him in the first place, and his irrelevance is our vengeance. And I think we can just move on from these corporations that pump out slop and hate, and just watch the corporations die. That's why we have YouTube. That's why we're doing shows like this. People are tuning into this more than they're tuning into Kimmel.
Yeah, not that I strongly disagree with you, but you're just going from one corporation to another, and Google's one of the biggest corporations on earth.
Got a lot of issues. They all do. Yeah. But he can go start a YouTube page. The fact that he gets to play victim now is not what anyone wants. No one wants to see him crying anymore. He's done that enough.
Well, as far as the return episode getting a pop, a lot of people are speculating this, but even with Colbert, it was 2 nights where everyone rallied and it was this big deal or whatever. What's he been up to lately? When's the last time you saw a Colbert clip? I think the same thing's going to happen to Kimmel because I think libs are just so demoralized that they'll maybe muster up enough strength to back Kimmel for a night or two. And then he'll just be obscure again, back to obscurity.
It's not this isn't going to give him better ratings. You might, like you said, he might get a pop, but
he'll get a night.
It's still going to be the same content that people have been moving away from, or the same show that people have been moving away from for the past at least 5 years.
If he comes back in blackface, I'll respect it.
Maybe.
Or Malone.
I'd tune in. Shoot, that'd be awesome.
He won't.
I don't know what the left would say to that.
I will just.
I don't think it really matters. I think his return show tomorrow is going to have a massive viewership. It's going to be the biggest show he's done probably ever. Maybe not. With television dying, maybe he was getting a lot more ratings. And with an aging demographic, his ratings dropped 43% from July into August. Here's what I think. I was on Piers Morgan earlier, and the most annoying thing in the world is how literally everybody, even conservatives, are like, well, the FCC's comments should, and the FCC, I'm like, the FCC has little to do with why he was taken off the air. I think Brendan Carr's statements did play a role, probably minimal, because advertisers, according to the Wall Street Journal, were calling ABC upset. And you got to imagine with the Bud Light effect and Target getting hit by it, they were like, we don't want to be associated with whatever it is this guy's doing. He's got to apologize or something. And Jimmy Kimmel said, no, I won't do that. They said, you're going to make it worse. He said, so what? They said, your show's off the air. Now he's coming back a week later and he's going to do exactly that. He's going to make it a lot worse. You know what happened? I think it is fairly obvious. Now, when I was on Piers Morgan, I said, why are you all making assumptions the FCC was responsible for this? You're literally saying Trump pressured them and Trump was mad. We have no evidence at all that Trump was in any way affiliated or associated with the cancellation of Jimmy Kimmel. None. Brendan Carr made a statement to Benny Johnson. It was probably off the cuff. Maybe it got ABC a little scared, but the advertisers and affiliates were the main reason. And so I'm saying to these people, you are speculating as to the reason. Now, we're asking ourselves, what did Jimmy Kimmel do to get brought back on the air? And we have no information. The reporting suggests he just negotiated his way back on. In that case, I'm willing to speculate this is terrorism. A guy shot up an ABC affiliate. A bunch of local ABC stations were getting terror threats of violence. Sinclair pulled their memorial to Charlie Kirk. I think the only thing we're seeing is that when faced with a threat of, and let's be very clear here, when faced with a threat of boycott, it's okay, that's a bad thing. Bud Light lost a lot of money. Disney's probably saying we don't want to boycott. But now they're receiving terroristic threats a week after Charlie Kirk had an assassin put a bullet in his neck. And imagine you're Bob Iger and you see someone drive by and shoot up an ABC affiliate. You see Sinclair being like, our affiliates are getting death threats and terror threats. And then Jimmy Kimmel says, want to put my show back now? And you go, please, just stop. Okay, I'll do whatever you want. A threat of a boycott means nothing. The threat of death means everything. So Republicans sitting here saying, we are going to pat ourselves on the back and we're going to wag our fingers. That's not the motivating issue here. They said, you know what? You guys getting mad at us over this only goes so far. Bob Iger is probably sitting there calling his security guards. Because I'll tell you what, because I deal with this. I guarantee you Bob Iger had a consultation with the security guys and they said the threat assessment against your life just went up 100-fold. And he was like, why? And they're like, they killed Charlie Kirk a week ago. They're shooting up ABC stations and threatening to shoot up more. Okay, you need to cave. And he says, I'll do anything they say. And drop to his knees like a whiny, scared little bitch.
Just like in 2020.
Indeed.
The same thing. They bent a knee constantly.
When the left says they will murder you, everyone believes them. I do. They do. I don't see any legitimate reason why ABC would return a loose. Let's be very clear here. Roseanne was their highest rated show. This is what everybody's been saying. Roseanne was their highest rated show. And get this, they pulled her off the air because she tweeted a joke. That's how terrified they were of the left. They will sacrifice all of their profit on her show, which is massive. The Connors ratings collapsed, and we had Roseanne on the show, and she said they asked her to come back later as a ghost, and she refused to do it. That's how bad it was. They were desperate. In this instance, Jimmy Kimmel is losing millions, tens of millions most likely, and they're willing to lose that money, and I'm going to ask why. They don't have the audience for it. 129,000 in the key demo, 1 million in total viewers. My estimate based on those numbers and sales is what? Is he pulling in $20K an episode? That's me being generous. And he's getting paid $15 million a year. What would motivate a company to lose money on a failing show, especially after even Colbert already has his contract canceled? I'm going to tell you, I think Bob Iger and Dana Walden are scared of getting a bullet in the neck just like Charlie Kirk got.
Well, I mean, it's a legitimate concern, right? Like the whether it be actual assassination attempts or just the rioting that you saw in 2020 or, you know, the smaller scale riots that you've seen since, the protests and stuff. Everyone knows, as much as the left swears up and down that they're not violent, as much as the left swears up and down, no, the right is violent, the right are the ones that carry out all this, everyone still knows that it's the left and Democrats and Democrat politicians will not condemn it. Right? Like they will actually say things like, you need to be out in the streets. You need to be out, protesting this, knowing what's going to happen. So, I mean, I don't know exactly what I don't have any kind of inclination as to what the actual behind the scenes conversations were like, but it's definitely true that there is a legitimate risk that some crazy leftist will try to kill you. I mean, you had the attack on the Sacramento, California ABC station. So I mean, it's compelling.
Yeah, I mean, but I kind of want to reframe this a little bit because there is something to be said about the fact that, you know, post Bud Light, the conservatives are actually able to throw their weight around and they're actually able to impose their will on the culture like this, because the fact that the left is having to resort to, I mean, violence in this case to get Jimmy Kimmel back on the air. But I mean, that shows that conservatives they're actually having to respond to conservatives.
They're not resorting to it. They've been doing it for. This is why Trump has designated Antifa a terrorist organization.
No, I know, but I'm just saying the fact that we're able to put them in a position where the only way they can keep Jimmy Kimmel on air is by shooting up ABC stations. I mean, that does show how we are winning, and that shows that they're completely demoralized.
Well, so be that as it may, I also suspect that whereas with like Roseanne as an example, when she got pulled, I think that the advertiser boycott was probably like a legitimate threat, where like when Elon was bringing free speech back to X and like the advertiser boycott happened, like that was real. That did happen. X's revenue got crushed. I don't know if like the big corporations that are doing advertising on mainstream media actually are so committed to a change of heart or to disavowing political violence that their threats were even real. I think maybe they were caught up in the moment after that assassination, but it was a bluff, right?
And the advertisers and the affiliates?
And so it might have been easier for Sinclair.
Well, it's not. Sinclair saying they're still not going to air Jimmy Kimmel. So they're not bluffing. Oh, they might be. Maybe tomorrow they put him back on the air.
But taking Kirk's memorial down still, right? Like,
Indeed. Yeah. That's why I would make the argument it's about the terror threats. The Bud Light effect is scary. Bud Light has never recovered. I was wrong about that. I thought the numbers were going to come back around. Bud Light's never recovered. This is actually pretty crazy. I think Who was the comedian I was on with Piers with? Jeff Dye, I think his name was.
Yep.
They added these guests at the last minute, but no disrespect. He made a great point that imagine after George Floyd died, if someone came out and a comedian on his, like Jimmy Kimmel came out and said, George Floyd died because he was resisting arrest. This is what you get. People would have lost their minds. I mean, they were rioting and burning down cities. Well, here's the deal. When Jimmy Kimmel implied that the shooter was a Trump supporter and the right got mad, there was fear among advertisers and affiliates that this is going to cause a backlash. Mm-hmm. And then ABC said, okay, Jimmy, don't. No, wait, Jimmy, you're going to make it worse off the air. Mm-hmm. Then a guy drove up and unloaded on an ABC station. A bunch of local affiliates got terror threats. And then within a few days, Bob Iger's like, Jimmy, please come back. Mm-hmm. I don't see... There is a fear of the Bud Light effect, but I got to tell you, if these guys, like Disney, I assure you, man, these guys have security threats you don't even realize. We don't talk about it because you can't. The security stuff that happens here, Shane knows all about it. Mm-hmm. We can't publicly state it because it will expose, it will amplify the danger. It will inflame the stalkers. It will make things substantially more dangerous for us. Based on what we deal with, and I got to tell you this, there are people behind the scenes here that are also getting death threats. I mentioned this, last week that I was getting texts from crew being like, I am receiving death threats to my email right now. Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, I bet you someone sent him a photo of his kids or like his grandkids or something and a picture of his home. Because the threat of Bud Light effect is terrifying to a business. But you know what's scarier? When someone shoots up an ABC station and then someone else threatens to murder you and you know their threats are real. When this guy who shot at the ABC station got released by the local jail, the FBI swooped in and arrested him. And so I'll tell you this. You're the CEO of Disney. You have a private security company because you are the CEO of Disney. You are getting death threats. I don't think there's a reality where they're not. And your security assessment, your security liaison, he comes to you and he says, okay, the threats against you have increased 1,000-fold, literally, overnight because of the firing of Jimmy Kimmel. They're actively shooting into these stations, and they just released him. He's in California. He's probably like, okay, whatever they want, just make it stop. Listen, no amount of money in the world is worth fearing that someone's going to put a bullet in your neck when you least expect it. You won't be able to spend that money. I mean, I got to be honest because I'm pissed off. The security, I really wanted to go on Sunday to see Charlie Kirk's memorial. And a lot of people did. And a lot of people without fear. And I'm jealous because my security team came and they were like, it's going to cost a lot of money. And I said, we can't afford that. And I said, well, then we can't provide you security. I said, okay, what's the point of the money? If I have to fear landing on an airplane and getting shot by some lunatic, because the threats have weight to them, the threats that we're receiving. The stalkers, the threats, it's nuts, particularly in those areas. So this has me really pissed off. I'll just leave it at that. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.